Hey boys and girls, this is Mrs. Tucker. I told you that I was going to read you one secular book and one sacred book. This is the sacred story of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And I know that we've talked about crucifixion is a very long word, and it means that Jesus was nailed to a cross, and this happened 2,000 years ago when he was 33 years old. Now, Easter is the Christian celebration of Jesus Christ coming back to life. Good Friday is the day that he is crucified, and Easter Sunday is the day that he rose from the dead. So this is one of the stories from the New Testament of the Bible. And this is taken from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So, you're a king, are you? The Roman soldiers jeered. That means laughed. Then you'll need a robe and a crown. They gave Jesus a crown made out of thorns. And that was to mock him and make fun of him. And put a purple robe on him. And pretended to bow down to him. Your Majesty, they said. And then they whipped him. And they spat on him. That means they spit on him, which we know is not very nice. They didn't understand that this was the Prince of Life, the King of heaven and earth, who had actually come to rescue them. The soldiers made him a sign. Our King is what it said. And he nailed it to a wooden cross. They walked up a hill outside the city. They made Jesus carry the cross on his back. It was very big and very heavy. Jesus had never even done anything wrong. But they were going to kill him the way criminals were killed. They nailed Jesus to the cross. Father, forgive them. They don't understand what they're doing, Jesus said. You say you've come to rescue us, the people shouted, but you can't even rescue yourself. But they were wrong. Jesus could have saved himself. A legion of angels would have flown to his side if he had called. If you really are the Son of God, then you could climb down off that cross, they said. And of course, they were right. Jesus could have climbed down. Actually, he could have just said one word to make it all stop. Like when he healed the little girl, and he stilled the storm, and he fed 5,000 people. But Jesus stayed. Why did he stay? Because he loved us so. You see, they didn't understand. It wasn't the nails that kept Jesus here. It was his love. Father, Jesus cried, frantically searching the sun. Father, where are you? Don't leave me. And for the first time and the last, when he spoke, nothing happened. Just a horrible, endless silence. God didn't answer. He turned away from his child. Tears were rolling down Jesus' face, the face of one who had wiped away every tear from every eye. Even though it was midday, a dreadful darkness covered the face of the world. The sun could not shine. The earth trembled and quaked. The earth's mountains shook. The rocks split into two until it seemed that the whole world would break, that creation itself would be torn apart. Then the full force of the storm of God's fierce anger at sin was coming down on his own Son instead of his people. It was the only way God could destroy the sin and not destroy his children, whose hearts were so full of sin. Then Jesus shouted in a loud voice, "It is finished!" And it was. He had done it. Jesus had rescued the whole world. Father, he cried, I give you my life." And with a great sigh, he let himself die. Strange clouds and shadows filled the sky, purple, orange, and black. It was like a bruise on the earth. Jesus was crucified on a hill called Calvary, and on the outer two crosses were criminals. One had asked for forgiveness, and Jesus forgave him. Jesus' friends gently carried Jesus once he had died. They laid him in a tomb carved out of rock. But how could Jesus die? What had gone wrong? What did it mean? They didn't know anything anymore, except that their hearts were breaking. "That's the end of Jesus," said the leaders. But just to be sure, they sent the strongest soldiers they had to guard the tomb. They hauled a huge stone in front of the door of the tomb so that no one could get in and no one could get out. Jesus' friends were very sad. They would never see their best friend again. How could this happen? Wasn't Jesus our rescuer? The king that God had promised us? It wasn't supposed to end like this. Yes, but whoever said anything about this being the end? Just before sunrise on the third day, God sent a massive earthquake and an angel from heaven. When the guards saw the angel, they fell down with fright. The angel rolled away the huge stone, sat up on it, and waited. At the first glimmer of dawn, Mary Magdalene and other women headed to the tomb to wash Jesus' body in preparation of his burial. The early morning sun slanted through the ancient olive leaves, drops of dew glittering on the leaves and grass, as if little tears everywhere. Dew is moisture that gathers over the night. The friends walked quietly down the hilly path along the olive groves until they reached the tomb. And immediately they saw something odd. It was opened. They peered through the opening into the dark tomb. But wait! Jesus' body was gone. And something else. A shining man was there, with his clothes made from lightning. "Don't be scared," said the angel. But they couldn't help it. They screamed anyway. The angel said to them, "What are you doing here?" The tomb is empty. This tomb is for dead people." The woman couldn't even speak. "Jesus isn't dead anymore," he said. "He's alive." And their hearts leapt with joy. And then the angel laughed with gladness that they had felt for the moment, as if they had just woken from a nightmare. And Easter is the celebration of Jesus being alive.
No way, we almost finished the book.
No. The other women rushed home, but Mary stayed behind. How could it be true? Jesus was definitely dead. How could he be alive? Then Mary heard something else in the garden. Perhaps it's the gardener, she thought. He'll know where Jesus' body is. I don't know where to find Jesus. I can't find him, Mary said urgently. But it was all right. Jesus knew where she had been, and he found her. Mary! The only person who said her name like that. Her heart was thumping. She turned around. She could just make out a figure. She shaded her eyes as she thought she was dreaming. But she wasn't dreaming. She was seeing. Jesus! Mary fell to the ground. Suddenly, tears filled up in her eyes, and she started sobbing, and she shook with her whole body. And all she wanted in that moment was to hug Jesus and never let him go. "You'll be able to hold me later, Mary," Jesus said. "I'll always be close to you, and you will always be close to me. Now, go and tell others that Jesus is alive. I am alive." Mary ran and ran all the way to the city. She has never run so fast in all her life. She felt like she could run forever. She didn't even feel like her feet were touching the ground. The sun seemed to be dancing and gleaming and bouncing across the sky, racing with her, shining brighter than she ever could have imagined it. She could never remember such clean, fresh air. And it seemed to her that morning as she ran almost as if the whole world had been made anew. Almost as if the whole world was singing for joy. The trees, the tiny sounds in the grass, the birds, her heart. Was God really making everything sad come untrue? He was even making death untrue? She couldn't wait to tell Jesus' friends, and they wouldn't believe it. She was right, of course. All right. So that is from the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That is the story of Jesus, the Easter story of Jesus. He's alive, and he is able to dwell in our hearts today if you ask him. Thank you. This is Bridger and Branson and Jordan and Mrs. Tucker, and we wish you all Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
All right, so let's sing Happy Easter to you. You ready? Ready? Happy Easter to you. Happy Easter to you. Happy Easter, my friend.